You know, there's a great documentary out there called The Corporation. May not agree with all of it, a little left-leaning, if you will, but it's got some great tidbits in a 3-hour presentation. And one of those tidbits is gold and 9/11. And I always thought that was very interesting. Another one is Monsanto and them lying about the milk. And there's so much more in that documentary that is so valid, and just how they were able to patent life that wasn't human, and it just the entire disgusting story of the corporation. You should go check that one out. That one's been around the mainstream media a little bit. It's been on some mainline television networks, so please support that movie as well. Bill Clinton's summit evolves amid financial crisis. See, Bill Clinton is getting older. He's trying to stay relevant. He's a think tanker. He wants to be remembered for more than a president. You know, who knows? Maybe this is the first president of the UN. I know he'd jump on it. He loves the power. Responding to global recession, former U.S. President Bill Clinton's philanthropic summit this year will focus on the ways for companies to profit. See, companies always have to profit. And how are they going to profit? Well, they're going to tackle poverty. Makeshift FEMA centers, they'll be profiting for those. They'll be sponsoring the mobile vaccination centers and vans for your children. I'm sure they can profit that way from poverty. Climate change, carbon tax for you. Health and education together again for the very first time, laughably. And when they say health and education, it's makeshift vaccination centers in your kid's school so you can take three spot shots for the swine flu. They'll say, yeah, you know, this was so great this month. The other 2 mandatory shots are coming up as well. We'll do those in 3 weeks, and then 6 weeks later. Line them up. I'm sure you can make billions if you get everybody to roll up their sleeve. Pay a little small fee. Weird. Meanwhile, it'll probably get them 6, so the health industry makes even more. Bill Clinton, not a good person. And remember, a lot of these meetings are openly now about overpopulation and eugenics. The last one with Bloomberg and Ted Turner and Oprah Winfrey. Let's not forget Davy Rockefeller, still hanging tall and tough, still out there as the top capo for the New World Order. There's a guy that's more than a policymaker. There's a mover and shaker. There's a guy that's willing to back an agenda publicly. David Rockefeller, no remorse. All right, let's go to some calls. Luke in, I think it's Iowa. Luke, you're online.
Hey, Jason, I was just kind of wondering, you know, how long are we going to go with the soft option? How long do you think we have?
Well, what do you think the hard option is? Because let's be honest. The hard option of us taking arms and executing our Second Amendment right, you're just going to get droned down, buddy. I hate to tell people out there, and I'm not saying that there isn't a time to arm yourself and say no. I'm going to tell you right now, if they come to my door and they say you're taking the shot or you're going to a camp, that's probably the time to go to the hard option. But if you're thinking that we're going to get into some level where we're going to get...
That's when they've got you divided, man. That's when they have you divided.
But let me explain how they got you when you're together and you're organized. Let's say you're lucky enough to get 200 people together. You're droned before you even know it. But did you not hear the article I read today, and I read not even every week, every 2 days, we're talking about these drone attacks? U.S. drone strike kills 45 in Pakistan. Now, do you think that those 40, and by the way, it's 60 in the UK press. Now, do you think those 60 people had any idea that they were about to be evaporated from the earth? Do you think they had any warning before? I mean, literally, snap of the fingers. They didn't see the drone. They didn't see the drone that was 30,000 feet in the sky. And you don't think that they're going to give more international power to the UN and NATO forces, and they don't have this same drone technology? And if they declare martial law in this country, that's not what they're going to do. They're going to have insurrections reported on by local military snitches and their Stasi 4th Youth Center thugs that think that they're doing the right thing, their Boy Scout Explorer program. There will be very little hand-to-hand Civil War combat. That's why I'm warning against this technopoly. Because if it isn't a U.S. drone, it's going to be ripsaws in the street and big dogs firing off there. That's the problem. You're never. Let me explain this something to you, sir. We're never going to own the XM-25. You know what the XM-25 is? Have you heard about this one yet?
I know exactly what it is.
Yeah, the XM-25 is going to be used by stealthy, elite military forces. And for people that don't know what the XM-25 is, it comes in different fashions, but the handheld one is a 25 caliber weapon where every single bullet has a microchip in it that can fire around things because it has a GPS in it. So in other words, it doesn't even have a straight shot to the baby maker. If it needs to go around something, it can. It fires through walls, and then within 3 meters of its set target through its scope, and by the way, it looks exactly like the soldier does. It's done up in full camo. It explodes like a grenade launcher. Can you imagine up against that? I'm serious, man. Literally talk about a sniper.
I know you're serious. I know you're serious, but that's never going to go away.
I'm not saying it's never going to go away, but there is a way that the public can get checks and balances on the system so it doesn't get out of hand, so that it's not used in a civil war scenario, so that soldiers don't have access to that, so that somebody isn't willing to, mount the Xbox controller and go on a drone-happy killing spree. You know what? There's a lot of people out there that disagree with me. First of all, I hope it never comes to that hard force option. But if it does,
no, they are going to make it that way. That. I've been listening to this kind of talk radio for 15 years, man. 15 years, and I've not seen any change. The only change I've seen is them getting closer and closer to their world government.
Well, they have all the money.
That's all I've seen.
Well, incrementally,
they are always going to have all the money.
I don't know.
While we sit here. Mm-hmm. They're just going to keep going, man.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're to wake up. Listen, I'm with you, and I thank you for the call. But if it ever comes to that hard option that you're talking about, and it may one day, get ready for the mass roundups, get ready for the executions, and get ready for the FEMA camps to have just nightmare scenarios. So maybe it is something that I'm very uncomfortable with, to talk about, to openly discuss. But again, our technology, the people's technology, well, we got some automatic weapons in some cases. Whoop-de-doo. A few of them might have some rocket launchers and grenade launchers. Nothing. We don't have tanks. We don't have UAVs. We don't got big dogs. I don't got the XM-25. We don't have the Star Wars program that was openly talked about in the 80s. Forget about drones. Who knows what kind of satellite tech they have? Their surveillance is unprecedented at this point. They're not all powerful. They're not that apex at the top of the pyramid that they'd like to be, the lords that they believe they are. But they're pretty damn close. And I've been talking tech. Plan to teach military robots the rules of war. I got this off of a link off of Facebook, but I think it's off of Weapons and Technology. Technology has always distanced the soldiers who use weapons from the people who get hit. Exactly. But robotics engineer Ron Arkin at the Georgia Institute of Technology, Atlanta, is working to imagine wars in which weapons make their own decisions about wielding lethal force. That's dangerous. You don't put the decision in the hands of an automated robot. I don't care what kind of ethics you think you're going to be able to teach it. He is particularly interested in how such machines might be programmed to act ethically, obeying the rules of engagement. The rules of engagement is that the people engaging the populace make the rules. They decide who gets bombed and who doesn't. Arkin has developed an ethical governor, which aims to ensure the robot attack aircraft behave ethically in combat, and is demonstrating the system in simulations based on recent campaigns by U.S. troops using real maps from the Middle East, because the Middle East is the beta test for these drones. And then as far as that smart grid, that carbon tax that we talk about all the time, is energy bills to hit 4,000 pounds a year. This one's out of the UK. Right now, the average bill is about $1,200. They say it's going to be about $4,200 in less than 10 years. And by the way, you're going to be using less energy. So really, it's going to be more than quadrupling for power under this new smart grid system. Can anybody say enslavement? Can anybody say it? Maybe we'll spell it. E-N-S-L-A-V-E. I can't wait to be a slave. I'm getting Facebook messages right now about national commercials running on Canadian television, letting everybody know that don't worry, the H1N1 vaccinations are on the way from our loving friends at Baxter. And they fail to mention that Baxter are the people that are sending out 14 different countries tainted vaccinations for bird flu that have 2 types of live bird flu and 1 type of live human flu virus in them, and killed ferrets in the tests. And people said this couldn't have been an accident. They said, no, it was an accident. And then 3 weeks later, they came out and said, no, they were mixing agents, but didn't really hit the mainstream, wasn't on the TV. You know, the little box that tells you how to think, tells you what to wear, explains how it's cool to act, what to desire. Yeah, that box didn't tell you about it, so most of you don't know about it out there. Because the box is our new lord, underneath the police, of course, who just, they're taking it by force, those people. Once again, folks, if you missed any of the program, we got the podcast. We got the listen live. We've got the little bar where you can listen months ago. And let's not forget the website, theinfowarrior.com, where I Bobby Bloggins all the time. Top story over there. CERN coming back with a bang. You better believe it. It's the Info Warrior, back tomorrow night, 9 to midnight Central Time. Thank you all.